Hi there, YouTubers. This is Anthony Green again with another episode of Politics with Anthony Green. Today I'm going to cover a little topic, response to a video that I watched today from Fox News, talking about how African Americans don't actually support the Republican Party. In the video, it was made quite apparent that the viewers of Fox believe that the Republican Party should honestly stop trying to cater to blacks, and that black people are not, we deserve what we get because we only support a one-party system. And before we begin, I did a little bit of research, which will be in the comment section below, or not the comment section, it would be underneath the, it would be in the video below, or the little spot below. Where I looked up some voting habits, and surprisingly, 80% of African Americans identify themselves as Democrats, with only 10% as Republicans, and 10% don't have an identifying party. And I would kind of put myself more as a Democrat now, although I used to be considered very moderate, but lately I've been making a full transition over into becoming a liberal. If you look at other breakdowns, 70% of Republicans, or I'm sorry, 70% of Mormons identify themselves as a Republican, with 22% Democrat and 8% not having a main party. Whereas white evangelicals have 68% Republican and 22% Democrat, with a 10% non-main party. The next closest racial group would be the Asian population, which is 65% Democrat to 23% Republican, with 12% with a non-main party. So what stands out to me out of these statistics is the fact that African Americans have probably the widest or closest between not having an affiliation to actually being Republican. With 22% Democrats, 8% not with the party. For the Mormons, it seems like we have by far the biggest wide range of for one specific party. And the real question I honestly think that Republicans should have in this case is why. And that's what this video is going to cover. You got to ask yourself, why is it that we're having such a hard time getting a specific demographic? And case in point, I want to be as real as possible. I understand. I'm an educated African American man, and I think if you talk to a lot of African Americans, we understand that by choosing one specific party, our needs aren't going to get addressed as if both people were trying to come at us. However, this video, I'm going to argue that the Republicans are making almost no attempt whatsoever to try to cater towards African Americans. I challenge you right now, if you're a conservative, pause this video and ask yourself, what do you think the five political important issues are to African Americans? Give it a second to think about, write them down, and let's see how close you are. Because I have a feeling that the Republican Party is so out of tune as to what's important to African Americans that is why they just don't get it. And it's an important section to give. We make up 13% of the population. All right? You alienate 13% of the population, and that literally could be the swing. So, without further ado, here is the real issues that are important to African Americans. The first one is we want a reduction of violence in black communities. And, that one's not the highest on the list, but that's the first one I want to touch. Both parties actually fail at this. You got the industrial prison complex, which I'm a full believer in which you have, honestly, I think the school to prison system is by far real. For the longest times when African American students go into every different type of school, they always get punished the hardest. They're always told, it's not a nice environment for them. They don't feel comfortable while going through the school process. But then when they get out, they can't find jobs or anything like that. And the next thing you know, they commit a little bit of a crime. They're going to jail for a long time. And both parties fail at this because, the violence in the African American communities is absurd. Now, it really is. I think if you talk to any educated black person, that's something they're going to say. I've never been the guy that sits here and tries to justify what happens in black communities. In fact, it really disappoints me that it happens. But I'm also a realist. I look at it from the perspective of that there's literally no jobs out there. African Americans make up the highest unemployment rate in this entire country. Out of all the demographics, African Americans have the highest unemployment rate of them all. And that's actually the biggest concern right there. So we go from one of the small ones to one of the bigger ones. Jobs. African Americans literally do want to live the American dream. You have people that will get on a boat and travel all the way to the United States just to experience and live the American dream. And it's literally not there. Liberals are for actually taxing business, and they're for raising the minimum wage. Conservatives are not. So there are no jobs out there, and I understand the conservative argument. If we raise taxes on business, how are they going to be able to hire other people? That is actually a serious thing to consider. However, if you can't afford to pay proper taxes and you can't afford to pay your employees, I personally don't think you should be in business. And I don't think it's right to ask anybody out there, regardless of white, black, Hispanic, don't matter, legal, illegal. I don't think it's right to ask somebody to make pennies on the dollar while you make record profits. It's completely absurd. Absurd. It really is. And we, the people of the United States, need to understand that. I mean, we're one of the places that literally have one of the widest gaps between the richest and the poorest. Yet we're sitting up here completely okay without taxing businesses, and we're okay with making less money for hard work. That's insane. If anything, you should be voting for a situation that puts you, the person who's watching this, in the best situations possible. But that's a huge issue to African Americans. Liberals attack it. Are they right? No. Have they come up with the concept that works yet? No. But you know what? They're trying. And people sit back and they see that and they're like, oh, well, hell, you know what? They're giving it a shot. I think I'm going to go ahead and throw my support towards them. Why not? Public schools. Public schools are another issue because they should help black children fulfill their promises and be able to live up in the American dreams. Now, right now, candidates on both sides are not addressing this issue. The Republican candidates never address education. It's something that never comes up. Maybe I've been watching different debates, and if I miss something, I do heavily apologize. Please link me something. I would like to believe the Republican Party does care about education, but from what I see, there's literally no addressing it on their end. Liberals have been wrong. They've had a lot of failed policies, and they've had a few things that have worked. The big difference, though, is that once again, we're getting back to that they're trying to find a solution. They're trying to address something that's important to African Americans. This should be important to literally all Americans. And, the next one, the mass incarceration for non-drug offenders, that gets back to the first point that I addressed. Liberals are very much against, the industrial prison complex. And rightfully so. They believe that if you're a nonviolent drug offender or nonviolent crime offender, you shouldn't have to go away for anything that's massive time, unless it's something that was horrible, like you got caught embezzling. But you know what? We have Wall Street that embezzles like crazy. Do they ever go to jail? No. It's a rarity. But you got guys right now, especially with the legalization of marijuana, for me to think that there's somebody sitting in jail for life, like in California, we got the 3-strike rule for weed. And you got dispensaries that are literally selling the exact product that they went to jail for legally. It's mind-boggling. So that's another important issue that doesn't get addressed by conservatives. And then the final one is true racial justice. I would love to live in a country that I really felt that everything was equal. I really would. When I see a black man holding a rifle in a Walmart in a state that's open carry get gunned down by the cops within seconds, it breaks my heart. What's even worse is when I see conservatives commenting on this issue as if the guy deserved to die. Let's get real here, people. The bleeding heart liberals aren't the ones that are sitting up there saying comply or die. It's the conservatives. As much as I would like to have an option of voting Republican in this upcoming election, I don't think I have that option. Everything that comes out of the mouths of these candidates takes away that option for me. Fox News. If you want to see more blacks like myself vote for the Republican Party, give me a candidate that actually gives a damn about me. Until then, shut the fuck up. Seriously, just shut the fuck up.